It's great to have so many inspired faces here. This is wonderful. I guess I can feel that Tzfat did everybody well, right? Tell me, was it good? It was good to go to Tzfat? Yeah? Mihi, it was good? Yeah? Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So we're deep in the discussions of idol worship. Not actually doing it, but how to know not to do it. And how to know how this is a mitzvah that's on us every single second of our life. Which is very interesting, that there's a constant mitzvah not to worship idols. So we keep talking about this. What do you mean, Rabbi? I didn't see an idol on my way to yeshiva this morning that I wanted to offer it libations and bow down to it. Those are some of the ways in which idols, by the way, there's 4 main ways that idols are worshipped in their main sense. One is called zibuach, which means to literally offer like a sacrifice. Okay, now when people think this is like, oh, that's like old stuff. Okay, fine. I'm just.
There's still sacrifices.
So.
Not of the altar sort.
Rituals and stuff.
There's hardcore stuff out there, even though we're gonna, and obviously that stuff is totally forbidden.
Right.
But we're saying how even more subtly, that's what we've been talking about in this series of how there's idol worship that's very subtle. But I want to just make sure that we know what the hardcore stuff is, because if anybody offers you, so you want to do some of like zibuach, want to like do some sacrificial offering, just run away. Number 2 is kitor. Kitor means to give incense. You're not offering a sacrifice, but you decide, I'm going to bring an incense offering to my idol, to my statue, as a means of worship. I'll make a little altar and then I'll just give an incense offering. Number 3 is nisuch, which means like libations. I have some type of an idol and I pour some oils. I anoint the idol. So stay away from that also. Number 4 is hishtach avoya. Hishtach avoya is I bow down. Some type of a bowing down, and there's different levels of bowing down. There's the basic bowing down. Then there's what's called pishut yadayim v'raglayim. It means like Superman. Like on the floor. You can't even call it all fours. You're just flat. Like Superman, like literally hands out, legs out, face on the floor. Total nullification to the idol.
We don't do that during Yom Kippur to Hashem, right? We just do it in the hands and knees.
Because we're not at that state, even though we will be.
Moshe Rabbeinu, when he says fall on his face, that's what they mean.
Yeah, that's Hishtach Avoya. In the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple, in the Kohanim, and the Kohen Gadol would say the name of God, the ineffable name. We don't ever pronounce it. Don't try it at home. Don't say, oh, that one? Now, yeah, the way that it's written, when we heard that name is the connecting point between heaven and earth. That name is when you realize that the world is only one tiny fraction of the truth of all of reality, and the true reality of God, of infinite reality, starts to kiss down into this world. At that point, your physicality is nullified. You're overwhelmed with the truth of the spiritual reality, and therefore the bowing is an idea of nullifying to that truth. That's why we also bow. And it's a good thing to actually get used to bowing. We bow in our Shemona Esrei, we bow in Aleinu Shabbat. We don't do the full, Superman on the floor, face on the floor. We do. The idea of the bowing is acknowledging that God knows a little bit more than I do.
Is there a proper bow for Shemona Esrei?
Yeah, the general bow for Shemona Esrei, just the people, Yeah, there's 2 main shitas. I didn't know I was going to do charades today, but this is really Torah, so I'm teaching you. There's 2 main approaches. So you go Baruch, you bend, Ato, and you say Hashem while you come up. That's one way, that's the Arizal's way. The other way is you go Baruch, Ato, and then you do like a bit of a snake thing with your head, and then Hashem. So one way you kind of come up like this. The other way, when you're down, you go the neck first and then come up.
What about Modim?
And Modim also. The first Modim, there's no knees, Modim. And then at the end, Baruch Atah Hashem. And you finish Modim like that. And the Gemara says an amazing thing, that if a person doesn't bow, it's kind of spooky, that for Modim, that his spine in the grave will turn into a snake.
Oh,
Did you say that again?
If a person doesn't bow properly, meaning he's stiff. Yeah, I don't know you, God. Yeah. You know who I am. Like that type of stuff. I'm not subjugating my, I got it all figured out. I got it all worked out. I know how to run things. I got my business. Whatever, like all the stuff that we. That's the guy that says, I don't bow. I'm not bowing down to you, God. So the idea of the spine is that it turns into a snake. It's not literally, understand. The snake means everything that goes against God consciousness. The snake is the Yetzer Hara. The snake is the one that is there to get inside of our consciousness and convince us that there's no God, convince us that you don't need anything except yourself, that I can do everything myself, I don't need anybody else, I don't need anything, I don't even need you, God. That's the voice of the snake, and the voice of the snake goes even so far as to say, why don't you go rebel against God? Go fight God. Fight God. Build a tower up to heaven to fight God. We're sick. But that's the voice of the snake, and that is the voice of the idol worship, where the person is able to say, I'm not listening. That's not the truth. So you might say, well, if God is so good, why does he give us those voices? Like, they're really, really not good. So we know the answer. The answer is free will. So now we're getting a little bit deeper. It's not just that there's going to be this outward expression of offering some grasses, some good stuff to the idols. And then, while the idol's partaking, we take a couple little puffs. Once you're hot box with the idol, you're good to go. So not only do we not do that, but rather the idol inside of our mind, the snake inside of our mind that's convincing us that I could do everything myself. It's convincing us, and this is what we were talking about last time, that there's any address for anything that we're looking for besides you, God. Now we're already in the world of idol worship. So the message, and by the way, this is a message for humanity. This is not just a Jewish message, this is a message for humanity. Any time that a person needs something, the first direction to turn is God. The first direction. You need something, your shoelace broke. I'm going to say a radical thing. Your shoelace broke. What's the first thing that you're thinking? Amazon. Yeah, good call. Amazon.
Replaced it.
So, how?
Amazon.
Amazon. Or I got 5 shek in my pocket. I'm going to go to the little sandler guy over there in the shuk. I'm going to pick up a couple of shoelaces. Good to go. Idol worship. What? What do you mean? Now, I don't mean literally like it's going to be, like biblical, with warning, death penalty, none of that. And we're going to talk about the death penalty another time, because how often do we inflict the death penalty when we had a high court? If it was once in 70 years, 70, it was considered a bloodthirsty, a murderous court. Because do you know why the message that we teach humanity, you know why the Jews, why killing somebody carries with it the death penalty? But you know how often we actually did it? Not even once in 70 years. So I guess, is it not such a deterrent? Like,
Or is it such a deterrent?
yeah, is it? It doesn't seem like it's such a great deterrent if you actually never do it. Because, and that's, even though we do have a death penalty. Because you know what the answer is? Why don't Jews kill?
Because we don't.
Because we're worried about the death penalty? We actually practically don't carry it out that often. That's right.
And that's
The reason why a Yid doesn't kill is because life is precious. Because killing is wrong. You want to know what the punishment is?
Murder is wrong. Killing is self-defense.
Murder. Let's go with murder. Ritzicha. Do you know why we don't steal? By the way, do you know what the punishment for stealing from the Torah is?
You have to
Like 30 years in prison?
No. You return.
What, 20 years in prison?
It depends on what you stole. You have to work for the person you stole.
If you can't pay it back.
You got to go to the bait.
The simple punishment, somebody gets caught stealing, you know what it is? Simple,
Pay back.
You have to pay it back in double.
just give it back. You stole the guy's car. He comes to court. He stole. I'm charging you 10 years. Grand theft. You know what the courts would do? Sir, can you please give it back? That's the punishment. Give it back. And if he doesn't want to,
Slave.
he doesn't want to, and then he says, I didn't do it. Hires a good lawyer. The lawyer loses. He doesn't give it back. Do you know what he's got to pay? Pay double. Double. Well, or a 4 or 5, whatever. Does that sound like such a great deterrent? It just give back the stolen item. Doesn't sound such a bad, there's no major jail time. Because you know why we don't steal?
It's bad.
Because God said not to steal. Because stealing is wrong. Because people's property is sacred, is precious. The Torah is trying to inculcate inside of us a value for life, a value for human property, a value for things that are sacred, things that are good. So here, yes, idol worship carries with it very severe things, but actually carrying out the death penalty is completely rare. We're trying to inculcate in a person that there are certain things that are wrong and educate people why they're wrong. Educate humanity why these things are wrong. By the way, the verse that talks about killing people, you know what it says? Yumas hames. That on the testimony of the witnesses you shall kill the dead man.
Kill the dead man. How do you kill dead man?
Isn't that a funny thing?
Bring them back.
It's because if they did it in front of witnesses through the warning and everything, that applicable death penalty means they're already spiritually dead, so you're sending off the body to join.
Wait.
Kill the dead man. That's what the Torah says. Kill the dead man. How do you kill a dead man? Well, he's already dead. So you know what the answer is? The answer is, when the death penalty has to be afflicted, it's being afflicted to somebody who already killed themselves spiritually. Their soul is already gone. Their soul is already left there. They killed themselves through their bad deeds. Their soul is already departing them. The only thing that's actually holding their soul from fully going up and receiving its full tikkun, its full fixing, is that there's this contaminated body here. So Beis Din, the high courts, have a sequence of how to purify even the body here. But the soul is all but gone. They're a shell of a person. They've gone. So back to our case. Why am I yelling at the guy that when he broke his shoelace, he's asking about Amazon? Because you know what the first thing when your shoelace breaks?
Baruch Hashem.
That, Hashem, I need a new shoelace. What do you mean? I got a Prime account. What do you mean? I got 5 shekel in my pocket. You have 5 shekel? What are you thinking? God, help me get a shoelace. You don't know what's going to happen by the time you get your shoelace. God gives out shoelaces. The way that He gives out shoelaces may well be your Prime account, may well be the 5 shekel in your pocket, but that's not what buys you shoelaces. God gets you shoelaces. That's just the means after God, which is the source. This is our constant mitzvah of not worshiping idols. Idols mean another. Another option. How do we say idol worship again in Hebrew? Avodah zarah. What does that mean? Avodah zarah means strange. It literally means strange worship. Why are you looking to 5 shekel in your pocket? That's not where shoelaces come from. That's just, the Gemara talks about a person who's a fool. Mazel tov, mazel tov. The Gemara talks about a fool, these fools that, they go and they compare them to dogs. They compare them to dogs. We gave quite a long class on dogs. It's recorded. I think it's called "Should I Buy Dogecoin?" You'll see the class. You'll see what you'll see the feelings about dogs. So, what does the dog do? When somebody hits the dog with a stick, so what does the dog do?
Bark at the stick. It barks at the stick.
It bites a stick and then grabs a stick and then So, you stick? You fool! What do you think? The stick hit you? Well, technically, I guess it did. The stick didn't hit the dog. The person holding the stick. So we call people dogs that when they get hit by some stick of life, and they start barking at the stick, or start, eating up the stick, like, look at that thing that happened to me. They're fools. All of it is just a stick. Why don't you go to the one who's holding the stick and take it up with him? Take it up with God. He's the one that's wielding the stick. The stick is nothing. The stick is just the way in which it gets carried out. But it's not the source. The 5 shekels is just the way that your shoelace is, the transaction is carried out. But it's God that's allowing you to have that 5 shekel in your pocket, that's giving it, that you can buy shoelaces. So this is the subtleness. I want to just end today by saying, once we know that idol worship is illogical, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't work with our logic of God being one. Why would people do it? And we gave, I think, 9 examples of how idol worship will show up in our lives, and it's very subtle. It's looking at anything else for the answer. So why would we seek it out? It doesn't make any sense. So I'll give you a couple answers. Number 1, because God is infinite. Because God is infinite and we're finite, it's not always easy to feel a direct relationship with the infinite, even though the infinite is logical existence. But it's sometimes harder to bridge that gap. Well, you know how we bridge that gap? God gave us a Torah, which is the way that the infinite can relate, could literally kiss and make a union with this world, to understand how to live and have a relationship with God. That's called the Torah. Torah literally means a guidebook for life. The most meaningful life possible. How to have the most meaningful life possible. But because the nature of God being infinite, and it's very subtle, and we're physical, oftentimes we want to seek something just more, relatable, because we got very much sunk into physical reality as the only truth. We get so caught up in this world. We get so lost in the sauce, like they say. That's what they say. I see that everyone, that is what they say. Apparently. So you get it, like the sauce of life. Just, what's it all about? Just, extra sauce. And we get lost. We lose ourselves in this world. I always joke around that I was at one time in Venice Beach by Gold's Gym. And Venice. So I know, Arnie. I know, that's what I'm saying. So I went to the spot. I wanted to see where it goes down. So I remember going in there, and everyone was wearing the little slinky things. I don't even know why you're wearing it,
Because it's socially inappropriate to just,
There's nothing even on there to begin with. It's socially.
wearing a shirt.
So I remember, everyone was it wasn't a peaceful environment.
They were all on the sauce.
Yeah, it's called juice. They're all juiced up. And like, everyone's like, yeah, what's up? Like, it was a very intense thing. And I remember afterwards I saw an interview with Mr. America. It was some other guy, I don't remember who it was. And they went through like his day. Like, this is my day. She's like, I wake up, 16 eggs, yolk, 4 hours, I jump into a bath of ice. And like they were going through the whole thing. And then, and the interview was like, it was like a 60-minute special thing. And then I hit another, and then I jewed this there, and then 4 hours, this, and they're like, and at the end, the interviewer said, okay, wow, can I just ask you, like, do you have like any time for, like friends, like life, like a social sit? And it just sounds like all day you're just like, doing it. It's like, he got a little emotional. I wish I could have friends, but you don't become like this with friends. The second best guy's got friends. Not me. You think you can make like this with friends? I was like, that dude is worshiping his body. And even if people don't go that far to, get like that, that's just sick. But they get so involved. Not just to be healthy. Everyone's got to be healthy. There's my boy Adam. 6:15 in the morning, Rabbi Isai. Aish Wellness Club. Hit it. Hit the QR code. You got to be healthy. You got to be fit. But when it becomes such a avodah zara, so because God is beyond, people want to find things to like. These guns, these pythons. It's interesting. We call them pythons, snakes. Talking about the snake, we call these snakes, these serpentile things. They're putting serpentile energy in my brain. So that's number one. We want to make God more relatable by having items of worship. But the Jew rejects that. You can't worship any form. You just have to be wiser and appreciate God is much more subtle. Of course God's in the world. But as the worship goes, you notice, what do we do all day? We talk to God. No form, no figure. We talk to the creator of the universe. Okay, I'm going to have a few more classes in the next few days on this topic. Everyone have a wonderful day. All the best, Kol Tov.